Hey, this is a bit of an impromptu video. We've been wanting to do something like this for a while. I don't know. You're like the biggest Marvel fan I know.
Thank you.
And just for some extra stuff to add to the channel, I thought it would be a good idea if, obviously building up to End Game, we just did something that we love doing, which is talking about Marvel, right?
Right.
We were originally considering an idea to review every movie, but realised that's impossible.
Because one of us never watches the movies.
Exactly. So we thought, you know what? The phases makes much more sense. That way we don't have to talk about every movie. We can just sort of give our summaries on what we thought was good, what wasn't, what the phases meant for cinema, meant for fans, etc. So, obviously, this being the first video, we're going to look at Phase 1. I'm going to get my notes out, because just before this we had a little rundown of what to talk about. So yeah, let's just get into it.
I've always wanted to do that. I'm sorry.
And you've done it.
Only on Mikey YouTube. Is that what your account's called?
I don't know. It is now. Okay, so something that I didn't actually realise until we were discussing this list beforehand is that Phase 1 Avengers, so what? Iron Man 1 literally came on the heels of Spider-Man 3 and X-Men Last Stand.
Yes.
Those were the last two superhero movies.
Well, the last two major ones. And to make it worse, Ghost Rider was also...
Oh, God.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, to your point, Iron Man was really coming off the heels of a very bad streak of Marvel films, of superhero films, really.
To say the least.
Yeah, Batman Begins was in 2005, and okay, to put it in a big context, there was 4 major superhero releases that I can think of.
Okay.
Superman Returns, which wasn't really received. Ghost Rider, which was appalling. Spider-Man 3, which everyone was disappointed in, and X-Men Last Stand. I don't really remember the order, but those were the 4 big superhero releases.
Right.
So really, Iron Man
was destined
to fail.
Completely fail.
Especially if you factor in the point that Robert Downey Jr. was a recovering addict at the time, to the point where the director had to actually take a pay cut so he could come on board.
Jesus.
Or something like that. And also Iron Man was not A-list before Iron Man 1. Look, now we're 10 years into the Marvel universe and now everyone knows who Iron Man is, isn't it?
You wouldn't think that.
So you wouldn't think that no one really but yeah, Iron Man was even the producer of the Marvel cinematic universe, Kevin Feige, said that the goal was to take C/B-list players and make them big.
Well, it's all they had.
Exactly. It's all they had, because at the time Spider-Man was in Sony, Hulk was in Universal, X-Men was in Fox, and Fantastic Four was also in Fox.
Those are some big players.
Those were the big players. So they managed to do a deal with Universal for Hulk, and then they were like, okay, we have Iron Man, we have Thor, Captain America, we have a bunch of people that no one really knows about, so let's make our P's money.
It's true.
Off them. So,
and you know what? It's interesting. Something that we also put in the list is that obviously these are B2C characters, but you notice that the Phase 1 movies are a lot more based on the characters than the actual movies. So what I mean by that is they're much more focused on these characters that people don't really know or care about unless you're a huge comic fan. But everyone says there's this formula, and man, for these BC characters, they really hit hard on that, even though we didn't really know them.
Yeah, the thing about this is what I've always liked about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's never been about the plot. It's more how the characters relate to the plot around them.
Right.
So Iron Man, okay, for example, let's not use Iron Man in this. Okay, for example, Thor 1 is about him reacting to not being a king anymore, or not being worthy anymore. it's not about he has to be worthy. It's more how does he act when he isn't worthy?
Right.
Or not Captain America in war. It's more because even in Captain America: The First Avenger, which may be a negative because people do consider that film very slow, but the war and the actual murders are montaged. Okay. What you see is the slow bits, him and Peggy, him and Bucky. Now you may think to yourself, man, that's boring, that's whatever. But if you look now...
That's them trying to establish these seeds.
And look at the emotional core of him and Bucky. That's so essential for the universe. Him being in war is really a backdrop. But the ending of Civil War, what's very important about it? How much he loves Bucky. Or in the
We'll talk about Civil War in another video.
Yes, we damn well will. Even his relationship with Peggy... also how comfortable he is in that world. So when Avengers comes and he's out of time, you can feel how like the difference. He's so uncomfortable. He's so like even when he's skinny as Steve, he's in his world. And then
he's quite comfortable with himself.
Yeah. He is actually. He even thinks he has it in him to beat up people that are double his size and weight.
It's true.
The Donnie has asthma, but he's taking on people in the cinema because he's goddamn Captain America. Okay,
so Donald Trump here. No. No, so
me?
So Captain America 1, Thor 1, so while we are praising Phase 1 for at least, attempting to jump into this space...
They're all horrible.
Not all horrible, but even though, they did attempt to, you kind of went into a bit saying that Captain America 1 can be seen to be a bit boring, but they did have a tough job, and unfortunately that came through in some of the films, at least for me. So, I do love the MCU, but honestly, I didn't even really get into it in Phase 1.
Yes.
I'm not really a huge fan of Iron Man 1. I'm definitely not a fan of Iron Man 2. Captain America 1, because I kind of like old-time war-y stuff, and I don't know, it was quite gruesome.
Was it?
Captain America 1, Peggy legit just headshots a guy in a car that's driving away from her. And you see blood. It's awesome, but it's wow. You
think that's gruesome, just people choking to death and freezing in space.
Well, another video, another phase. What I'm mumbling about and trying to get to is that Phase 1 didn't have amazing movies.
No.
Some of the... Well, to be fair, I guess it shows because we only said we'll talk about Iron Man 1 and Avengers. And I guess Captain America, the one that
we will gloss on some things.
Yeah.
Those are the main three, I think.
So, Iron Man 1, the first one, what was great about that for you in establishing Iron Man?
Okay. I'll talk about the negatives first. The pacing is off, I feel, in that film. At times it feels longer than it is. The third act is very rushed, and you can tell that a lot of it is improv. But
seems like there's no writers in this damn universe.
Iron Man 1, the positives I feel with Iron Man 1 is Robert Downey Jr. is a very well-established character. Oh, Tony Stark is a well-established character. He's very charismatic, very funny. He is one of the actors that epitomizes their Marvel counterpart. You have Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. You have Chris Evans, Captain America. I would put him he's one of the best character portrayals of all time. And he's had it worse than some of the others, because Wolverine was already a big star. Captain America was already well known. Come on, everyone, a lot of people know Captain America. But Iron Man was really a lot of people really don't, again, people don't realize this. Iron Man was very, who's that? He's guy in the suit, okay. He was very B-list. Not a lot of people knew him before, and Robert Downey Jr. made him a megastar.
Honestly, I don't think I really knew him.
I didn't know him either. Not that well.
Because I didn't really read any comics. I just sort of fed off of the games and...
Tobey Maguire.
And Toby. I fed off Toby. Yeah, but sorry, go on.
No. I was just going to say that yeah, like I think he really helped that character become a star, and it came through the most in that film. Him in Afghanistan, the scene in Afghanistan where he's breaking out of the cave in a suit that he makes out of like metal scraps, like that's amazing. And I'm not gonna preview it, but the way it comes full circle in later movies, and that's the key. It's about developing character moments and character essentials for the sake of the universe, you know, and making the little things matter. Like, man, even one of the most Iron Man moments of all time is when this big tank just blows him out of the air, and like he just gets up and like he shoots a little the smallest rocket out of his arm, and literally all you hear is the sound just get and then he walks away.
Yes,
and then the famous slow motion explosion. Like, that's just one of the best. That's the most Iron Man moment ever.
MCU should have ended there. Just everything.
They couldn't get better than that. But yeah, man. Unfortunately, there's a villain problem. The villain is very
It established the villain problem.
It established the
very
villain
first movie.
The problem was the film was so good despite the villain. They were just like, well,
we need it.
So let's just do it like this formula where the villain barely gets any time. Now, I don't know how the Marvel Universe would be if they didn't do that. Maybe the characters we liked, we wouldn't like as much because there'd be more time with the villains. Or maybe they would have benefited from it. I don't know. But I do know there was a big villain problem. And barring Loki, Phase 1 did not have any interesting villains. But overall, I still think Iron Man is a great film. I like its concept on war. I like that he was like a military funder.
I mean, at the time as well, what would it have been?
2008.
You know, I want to say, I don't know, because man, I was young then, so I don't really know what was going on then. I guess it was
like I was 50 when that was out.
I guess it was like the tail end of like Iraq and shit. I don't know. I don't want to start talking about my war knowledge or history knowledge, or recent modern history, but yeah. It was pretty, even like for kids as well, like because it was a kids movie ultimately, and it's like he's a womanizer, he's a
alcoholic,
a weapons manufacturer,
a weapons manufacturer.
Like it's quite intense.
Also,
stuff.
sorry, there's another scene that's so Iron Man. It's when he's actually presenting the weapons in Afghanistan. Yes. And he got his hands up. And that is amazing.
Almost like biblical metaphors.
Almost biblical. And if you think about it, it does feel quite biblical, but he's a reborn character in that film. So, like, it's quite. And in that scene, in that very next moment, he becomes a new man after they invade him and they attack him and they take over. So, man. What I'm trying to say is Iron Man is king.
John Favreau. But yeah, and you mentioned Loki, so I guess that's a nice enough segue to talk about Avengers 1. The first
Not
Avengers.
even Thor. Not even Thor. Wait, can I just say that Thor 1 is the reason I like Thor so much. Again, it's not a great film. We're not going to talk about it a lot, but Thor and Loki, their relationship. Honestly, the film should have just been about them. Like, no other character. Like, not even
that would have probably been better for Avengers as well.
That would have been better. It should have been just Thor and Loki. Thor 1 made me like Thor. He's very funny. He's super strong. And Chris Hemsworth has a lot of charisma. But Loki is also amazing. And I think Loki is a big reason why I like Thor so much. Because I love their relationship and their bond. Or lack of. But
anyway, unfortunately, I don't know. I don't really know what the problem with those movies are. I think they just were really so focused on, okay, we have these characters left over after selling everything to Sony, Fox, etc., Universal. But Kevin Feige, this crazy man, is coming to us with this idea and we want to just make it. So let's just churn out these movies, You know, modern CG or super modern. The CGI then was getting better, etc.
It was more.
I guess at the time, Thor was probably the most stunning MCU movie, really.
Visually?
Yeah.
That movie looked awful. No, I'm joking. Yeah. Excuse me.
Especially with having to represent,
Asgard.
you know, and the Rainbow Bridge and stuff. I don't know what it's called. I forget what it's called.
The Bifrost.
Is that the actual bridge?
Yeah, Bifrost.
Okay.
I know this stuff. That's why you bought me.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, the Bifrost, the Rainbow Bridge. Yeah, exactly. I think this is the negative about Marvel Phase 1. They did want to churn out a lot. They wanted to make sure everyone was hyped for Avengers. And they had a lot of Avengers callbacks and subtle setups. And sometimes it's nice. Sometimes it's like, oh yeah. But when it feels like the whole film is centered around, oh yeah, Thor can be in the Avengers now because he was on Earth. Or Iron Man 2, which is like one of the worst MCU films. Despite having some good things about it, it felt like 50% of the movie was dedicated to Iron Man will be an Avenger soon. And I think that's why I like Captain America 1 better than Thor 1, Hulk, and Iron Man 2. Because Captain America 1 is literally about this character. The only Avengers link is when he wakes up in 70 years' time. And there was another video person. Was it Cosmonaut?
Yes, Cosmonaut.
He made a good point that
Cosmonaut. I can't remember.
He's very cosmic, but he made the point that it has one of the best endings. If you've never seen the ending, but obviously Captain America spends the whole film in the 40s, and then as he's about to die, he says to Peggy, his girl, and that's generally one of the best one of the best romantic relationships in MCU. And MCU do have a romantic relationship problem. But that one was really well done. It was well earned. And he's like, man, I'd love to have a dance with you. And this is the first time he actually ever asks out someone, like, genuinely. And it's this girl. And it's right before he dies. Perfect timing. But he's just like, yeah, I'd love to dance with you, boom, boom, whatever. And then he actually just, perishes, yes. He's buried under ice. And he isn't found until modern day times, which is, I think, 2011. So that's like 70 years. And Nick Fury tells him, you've been asleep for about 70 years. And, like, Cap just says, like really, like, quite broken. He's just like, oh man, he's like, because Nick's like, oh, are you gonna be okay? He's just like, yeah, but he's like, I had a date, and it just boom, cut to black, film's done. Like, I never realized that. That's a really powerful ending. That is a really powerful ending because it's like he got everything he wanted. He got the powers, he got the girl, and then it was stripped away, and now he has to start again.
I think actually, I know I maybe went too quick to try and talk about Avengers, but you also mentioned that you felt all the Phase 1 movies, despite some of them being pretty poor, or boring at least, they are the most different from each other.
Yeah.
Tonally, at least.
Okay. Phase 1 was definitely when Marvel didn't know what their formula was. So they were trying a lot of different things. Iron Man 1, Captain America 1, Thor 1, none of them end the same at all. Another great ending is when Iron Man is like, I am Iron Man. I forgot about that. That was pretty cool. Man, Phase 1 has some great endings. Phase 1 has some flipping amazing endings. But yeah, I am Iron Man is a great ending. The tones are all different, I feel. The villains are all characterized in different ways as well. Red Skull is like, a Nazi tyrant. Loki is just a mischievous, red-headed stepchild. And then, who's the other one? Who have I said? Oh, Iron Man's one is, rubbish. But, they all characterized in a different way. Even the colour and the mise-en-scène of the films are very different. Thor is shot differently. Thor is shot in like some type of Dutch.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing he was saying. Dutch angles.
Dutch angles. Thor is shot at Dutch angles, and it goes from space to Earth. The colors are very different. Thor sometimes feels like it's pictured sometimes as like some 60s Western thing, and then sometimes it's like cosmic. And then Captain America is obviously filmed and
In the war.
In the war, and then
the war.
and Iron Man is just it's very modern. It's very modern with just the sci-fi, obviously the sci-fi aspects of it, but it tries to be as real as possible. So I haven't said a damn thing about Hulk because I don't remember anything about that movie. I only remember the ending fight.
Abomination fight was fun.
And the kick Hulk gives the guy.
Yes, against the tree.
Yes, that was pretty cool.
I had some good action. Well, didn't have good action, but
good kicking.
Good kicking.
Good kick, Hulk.
Now, with that being said, we've kind of rounded it up. Let's actually talk about Avengers now. Avengers 1. This was the goal, I guess. Mm-hmm. This was their first End Game. And I mean, I guess when you go to... Kevin Feige is the producer, but when you go to boards and arguing, look, I have this idea, of we're going to make all these movies that all cost an absurd amount of money, but trust me...
They will pay for it because they're that crazy.
Like, trust me, it's going to be worth it when we release this other movie that's going to cost even more money. So I feel there was so much riding on this Avengers movie to not only succeed, but
thrive.
Like it had to be...
It had to shake the ground.
And do you think it did that?
I mean, look at us. I haven't had sleep in 8 years.
It's, wait. Oh, what, do you have a...
Did it work? Did it work? Look at this tattoo.
I'm Tony Durst.
Oh my goodness me. Alright, cool. Yeah, it worked. It definitely worked. I think... Man, okay, it worked in so many ways. It made team ups the thing. It made ensembles the thing, and it made it feel not out of reach to do a good ensemble movie. It set up a basis for 10 years really, or I don't know how far Avengers is from Infinity War, but a lot of years, and it allowed Marvel to actually take more risks, because as weird as it is to say, Avengers movies are always the biggest, but I don't think they're the best. But they're good enough to make ways for a better movie, for genuine, wow, this is a great film. I guess we'll talk about that more in Phase 2, but Avengers 1, I believe, is a great movie that set waves for 3 amazing movies in Phase 2. And I think Avengers 2 did the same for some Phase 3, and I think maybe Infinity War will do the same for, other films. But yeah, man, I will say about Avengers 1, that's the first film that made me genuinely say, wow, Tony Stark, I love this character. There's a difference between thinking, wow, this is a great character, wow, this is a funny character, and then there's, I would die for him.
Right.
There's, oh my goodness, you are my king. You are the one. And in Avengers 1, Tony is the guy. It's not the and this is the thing again about Phase 1. It's not the action. It's the interactions, it's the characters, it's the humanity in everyone. Like the argument that they all have before Loki and his people attack. It's pretty good. I like the argument Captain America has when he's like to Iron Man, you always look for the easy way out and you'd never make the sacrifice play. Although it is weird that the Captain America's brag is, I would die before you would. It is a bit weird when you think about it, like...
That's the bar.
Yeah,
would you die? Would you die?
Like literally, like, I've died. Would you? Like, it's weird.
How do you beat that?
I'd kill.
Give me this gun. I'll show you, Cap.
No, but yeah, and then obviously Tony proving that he would die, so I guess he took your advice, and just
he didn't get a gun. He got a nuke.
He got a nuke.
You see me?
Top this one.
That's all it was for. It was just for bragging rights.
Just for bragging rights. Now my dad will love me.
Oh, that's sad.
It is sad, isn't it?
But
yeah,
go on.
Yeah, like the moment where he, you know, selflessly puts the nuke up into space and blows up, and like you see his eyes just turn dry, and his eyes just like closes, and then
falling back,
and everyone's just like, come on, Stark, make it back. And again, we knew he was coming back. Iron Man 3 was announced for the very next year. We all know they wasn't going to kill Tony Stark, but it's not about whether you think they're going to die or not. The shocks never last. The sentiment does, you know?
Well, I guess when a movie does something like that and can almost like trick you and make you think like, is he gonna die? Like, I don't know. Like, I feel that is a good movie. Even if you know the ending, it's a bit like, okay, what is
actually happening?
The suspense, right?
Like, for example, I guess Infinity War is the biggest example of that. But yeah, like, it was like he was going in space, and it was like, oh my god, what's happening? And it was so well done, and it genuinely made, I believe, that set pace for perhaps the best Marvel character in cinematic, you know, history. It's one of Iron Man's best moments. I would probably make it third, and I'll talk about 2 in Phase 3. But yeah, like, it set waves for a genuine, amazing character. And I feel like that made me genuinely love that character, which was what made, I guess, Iron Man 3 much more special. But, okay, that's Iron Man. One person who really shined in Avengers, Hulk. The Hulk problem...
Well, yeah, the cast, the actual change in actor... I don't know, like, because he kind of felt different also.
Mark?
Like, I don't know, it seemed like also a half retcon on the character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a reboot. It was,
you know, more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
The rumours are that he can control the Hulk in that movie.
I mean, yeah, but there's just incidents. He has incidents, but for the most part, he controls the Hulk.
Okay.
Which reminds me, man, one of the greatest scenes in Hulk and Marvel history is when he's like, "That's my secret, Captain. I'm always angry." Like, and you know what? I just had a flashback to when I saw it in the cinema. Oh my goodness!
A lot of like one-liners in Avengers.
It's Avengers.
But I guess that's what also started the whole
quipping.
But more to the point, with all the people, as many fans as Avengers does have, the people who, you know, really tried to criticize everything they could. That was always the biggest thing, the jokes.
It was too funny. It was too funny. It was too funny. It was too funny. Now,
in a time of Nolan Batmans,
it was very different. It was very different. I always like the quipping, not gonna lie. I like the jokes. Maybe they are a bit much. I think there are a few films where they are a bit much, but I don't think Avengers 1 is one of them. Obviously, there's Puny God. Loki is real funny. And I think Loki created a problem in Phase 2, which we'll talk about. But Loki is real funny in Avengers. He's much more charismatic and ambitious than in Thor 1. And I think that's generally made Loki one of like the most popular characters ever. Like, women love Loki.
It's true.
I also do that.
Going back to the quipping, I think it's also a big thing to note that this is the first real movie of an ensemble cast that it's like you're having main character. It's not even just one main character quipping with side characters. It's all these main characters who have had solo movies, like as you said, that focus on their character to develop them.
Yeah.
So basically, you have a whole movie for the first time of developed main characters who all have established personality traits, their own senses of humour that we've sort of briefly seen. Like literally the contrast of Tony's exuberance and just eccentric behaviours with Captain America's much more, Steve Rogers is much more like
professional,
you know, like
military.
A lot more subtle, I guess. Well, not even subtle, he's a lot more composed.
Yeah.
He's just more of a quiet person.
And then you have Thor, who's very out there and,
you know,
social and noble, and then Hulk is very repressed.
All these things, right? And it's not really been done before, so these writers kind of had to figure out, okay, we have these main characters, ultimately we want it to be a little more light-hearted of a film, even though there are things at stake. And when you have characters that make quips to other characters that make more quips, you know, it's like, unfortunately you do fall into that space, but there wasn't really...
the thing is...
There wasn't... like, before we move on, I just want to say, there wasn't really like an instruction manual on how to have these interactions happen, you know? Yeah. And honestly, for the first shot, I don't think it was bad. Like, yeah, maybe too many. For some people, I can understand the argument, but hey, for the first shot, I don't think it was that bad.
I feel like my thing is, you have to realise it's for many audiences. You know, we have the emotional things for the teenagers. We have the philosophy lessons and the heartbreaking moments for the adults. But then you do need the light-hearted stuff for the kids. Like, I feel like some people don't realise...
Kids, hey, I like that light-hearted stuff as well sometimes. I mean... You know?
Yeah, okay, yeah. For the kids, well, for anyone who likes light-hearted things. But some people, I feel like some people are very selfish when they watch movies. And I'm not saying you're supposed to watch a film and say, I can't enjoy this because it's not for me. But you do have to realise that there are going to be elements that are for other people. Now, there's a difference between something bad and then there's a particular thing you don't like. Because it wasn't even, oh, I don't like comedy. It was, I'm laughing, but I'm going to hate it. You know? Right. Most of the quips, people are laughing at. There's not a lot of quips. I'll be at the cinema and I watch these Marvel movies a lot. There's not a lot of movies where I'm at the cinema and there's a joke and no one's laughing. It's like, oh my god, that joke was horrible. It's more, oh, but it's taking me away from the emotion.
I think some future movies we could talk about it because I do feel some really push it.
Yeah, I do think some push it. I don't think Avengers is one of them. I think Avengers started the quipping and it got worse in some movies, but for my taste, I think Avengers 1 did it well. The emotional scenes worked. You know, Iron Man's sacrifice was great. That was great. The guy who dies or isn't dead, Coulson. I don't really know what's up with Coulson, but when he died, it worked. And Coulson is genuinely a nothing character, but people cared about it when he died at the time. Now, again, it's like 6 years ago. You'd be like, what? People cared that he died, but trust me, he was pretty big. Because he was like the first character in multiple films to die. It was like, oh crap. Like, man, that was some good stuff, you know? And like when Hulk turns into the Hulk, or when Hulk even mentions that he tried to kill himself, like I said, the argument Iron Man and Cap have when there's a quote where I was like, damn, Iron Man is a flipping maniac. He's like, Captain America says something like, you may not be a threat and you better stop pretending. But he's like, you may not be a threat, but you better stop pretending to be a hero. And Tony's like, oh, what? A hero? Like you? You're a laboratory experiment. Everything special about you came out of a bowl. And I was like, damn. Like, the sting, you could, like, you felt the sting. You could feel the super hot fire. I
mean, like I said, for these interactions that have never happened before, it was a really good. I felt it was a really good shot.
Yeah, like, man, I think the interactions were, and they set a basis for a lot of good things in the Marvel universe. I'll tell you what, the amount we've talked about, we've barely gone into the action. It was
also not only the writing between them and interactions, but also sharing action
fight scenes and cool moments, like with that team up sequence when it goes from Black Widow driving whatever she's doing. Oh yeah, Black Widow was in that film, wasn't she? And the Arrow guy, Hawkeye was also in those films. Okay, we've only talked about the main four really, but you know, the scene from Widow to Iron Man and Cap doing their fusion, which is a callback to Marvel Ultimate Alliance games. Iron Man shoots his repulsors into Cap's shield, which then reflects on the enemies, and then it's like it's almost done as a one shot, and it goes to Hawkeye and then it goes to Thor and Hulk. Like, man, that scene was great. I remember saying to myself, Marvel would never be able to top that scene. So,
and boy,
was I wrong?
But
don't worry.
We said a lot of good things about Avengers 1.
Mm-hmm.
However,
however.
What do you think are its shortcomings? I think, me personally, it starts off incredibly bad.
Yeah, the opening scene is not great.
Like, I remember watching it again, like, when it, I don't know, I think it's one of those periods where they just randomly put all the Avengers movies on Netflix. And I was like, yeah, I'll slap on Avengers. And I don't know if I hadn't watched it in a few years, but I was watching it.
Yeah,
and honestly, I it's very rare I just sit in my chair and say to myself, man, this is so bad, I need to keep watching. You know, like, I need to see why this is like, why it's like this, right?
The thing is, it's so different from the tone of the movie as well. It's just not well done. It's not. It is bad. It's bad. Yeah, that's bad. Another thing is Hawkeye is a bit, unnecessary. Widow isn't unnecessary, but she's underwhelming. It's like, oh yeah, you're kind of good, but then you don't feel anything. You know. I feel like Widow's always had that problem with me. I've never really cared about her. Don't know why.
I mean, same with Hawkeye, really.
Yeah, but Hawkeye, at least it's like a joke. At least it's like, yeah, no one cares about Hawkeye. But Widow's just tragic. Because they're trying so hard to make you care. You know, they'll have her beat aliens. They'll have her do major plot points. And you just don't care.
Very awkward, romantic
angles with everyone.
You know?
They'll have her be a monster because she can't have babies. And you just never care.
It's like they were just throwing shit at the walls.
Yeah, legit. She's an alien. She's black. I don't know. Soon, yeah. Boy, who knows? Knowing Scarlett Johansson, like, this is the thing. It's just there's just something missing about her character. I don't know what it is. I think it's half writing, half maybe she's just not suited for the role. In my opinion, I know some people like Black Widow, but for me, I just can't feel emotionally attached to her. But I like everyone else.
I just feel there's so much more that a member of the Avengers could do that isn't just inexplicably kicking the shit out of aliens.
And super vagina.
You know, like...
Because literally, her finisher is literally wrapping her legs around her opponent.
And consuming. No, but I'm... like... She's keeping up with the likes of Cap and stuff, and I'm not even saying that, Cap will do... Cap is engineered, you know?
Well, I mean, isn't Widow too?
At that point, we didn't know that. As far as we were concerned, she's just a CIA agent who's Russian and speaks, like, 20 different languages.
In 20 different accents.
And an incredible flirt. It's just, I don't know, it is a weird one.
I know. It's awkward. I feel like...
Women have definitely done a lot better in
other...
two,
Yes.
Which we will talk about.
But yeah, Black Widow is not... I don't think Black Widow is a good start for female characters. I feel like Hawkeye is underused. I feel like Thor and Loki's relationship is a very... Every time it's used, it's good, but it's not used enough. And maybe it is a bit long. I think they could shave off a bit. But I think they wanted to make it feel as epic as possible. I still don't think it's a good thing though, so I have to be honest about shortcomings. But like I said, man, when you get to that climax, you forget about all the bad. Like when you see them in that circle, in that one, the shot, the circle, when Hulk's roaring, and then you see Hawkeye, and then you see Thor, and then you see Widow, and then you see Cap, and then you see Iron Man. That one circle shot, you feel it. You feel it in your chest.
I know, it really did sort of define, like, these ensemble movies, like, what we were to expect from now on.
Like, man, like, even when, like the ending when Nick's like, oh yeah, they'll come back. And the girl's like, oh, why do you know they'll come back? It's like, because we will need them to. And then the music plays, it's just like, you really, I remember just leaving the cinema thinking, man, this is the first time I've left a film genuinely wanting to be a superhero. Okay. Because I feel like a lot of films were like, oh, how would it exist in the real world? I don't want to be Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. That was depressing.
I know, damn.
Like, have you deeped how badly depressed that guy was? The X-Men were always crying when Batman is... You know how Batman is. He can't even be a doll. He wears makeup. And like, but man, I remember leaving the Avengers thinking... I was just... You know? That's the wrong one! Oh man, I guess, you know, I remember just waving a pretend hammer.
Let me see this list. Okay, yeah, no.
So I guess we could just talk about the best and then the sleeper, I guess.
No, I mean, we kind of already did that. But
okay,
I think, yeah. So Avengers really did set a precedent. Especially not only after Iron Man 1 and Thor, Captain America, but Avengers really hit the nail on the head for these things. And it kind of shook the waters a bit, especially for competing companies.
Yeah. It made a lot of people scared.
Namely Warner Brothers and even Fox, even though they were dealing with Marvel properties themselves. Obviously, it was all separate. More so with Phase 2, because that is around the time where DC started releasing their what was it? The DCEU.
I don't know. I'm a Marvel guy.
That's when they started releasing their movies like Man of Steel, etc. So we'll talk about that more in Phase 2. But you know, it really made people start looking and made people realise, oh, okay, this can be done, and it can be done very well.
Unless you're DC.
Well, this is the thing. DC saw that and thought, hey, we got this. We got this.
We have all the cards, huh?
And the thing is, with such... Alright, this isn't going to be a DC thing. But ultimately, this was really getting to a point now where this is what people want. And I don't know, man. I don't even think they were prepared for the success of it.
I don't think Marvel... Yeah, I don't think so either. I'm talking about all the way Phase 2. But, quick outro. If you was to rate Phase 1 out of 10, what would you give it? If you could rate a whole phase, I guess.
I don't want to be such a, like... I don't know, because I want to give it something high, but more because I'm just so impressed with how well it was how well it went the first time round. Right? Because we've seen how it can be bad. And honestly, I didn't really think about movies a lot when I was younger. But looking back and thinking, oh my god, how hard it must have been to convince so many, you know, executive producers or whoever is in charge of the money to actually get these things done. So I want to give it a high number, but not necessarily based on the movies.
But more, yeah, I get it.
Based on... From a production standpoint to the movement it made, so honestly, I think I'd give it like a 9.
Okay. I think I'd go 7. 7 in a good way. I think that's because I think Phase 2 and Phase 3 showed that they could do more, be more. At the time, I thought... Because at the time, I didn't realise that these films weren't that great. Because I just thought... Because there wasn't a lot of great films. So it was like, okay, yeah, this is kind of the best super movies can do. But the more movies that were produced, and the movies like, wow, okay, they can do some really good stuff. And then I started to look back and be like, okay, even though I still enjoy them, and I don't think any MCU movie is god-awful, there's definitely a lot of room for improvement in a lot of these films. So I think I'd go for the 7. My two favourites, of course, Avengers and Iron Man 1. They're both in like my top 10 MCU films of all time. All time's like 10 years, but yeah, top 10 MCU films. And I think Captain America 1 is boring to some, but man, I think it has the best characterization, the best romantic relationship, the best friendship with Cap and Bucky, best ending perhaps in the MCU, one of them. And it starts off perhaps the best trilogy in Marvel. So I mean, like, damn, it's hard hating this film. It's just one of those things that I just don't feel, but I know there's a lot that's good. So, and I love Skinny Steve. Skinny Steve is a really well done character. So yeah, 7 out of 10 overall for the Phase 1.
Hey, this has been a long video.
It has.
This has been incredibly long. Even though I'm going to try to edit it down. But if you did watch this, there's going to be more.
I love Loki.
And we do want to come back with Phase 2. This is more of a podcast, as I'm sure you've noticed, but it's going to be weirdly edited, so I don't want to call it a podcast. But hey, if you did get this far. I hope you enjoyed it. We love Marvel, and we just want to keep mumbling on about it. We hope you enjoy us mumbling.
Mumble, 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 mumble.